I don't remember the exact moment they stopped seeing me. It wasn't dramatic, wasn't a single catastrophic event. It was gradual, like watching the sun set. You don't notice the darkness until you're already sitting in it. My name is Luca. I'm 26 years old. And for 3 years I was the happiest Omega in the kingdom. Bonded to 3 Alpha Kings. Loved. Cherished. Protected. Until Brennan came. This channel is for people who understand what it feels like to be replaced. To watch love slip through your fingers while you're still desperately holding on. Subscribe and stay because tomorrow I'm bringing you another story about survival and finding yourself when everyone else has forgotten you exist. Let me tell you how I lost everything, and how I found myself again. 3 years ago I met Adrian, Sebastian, and Matthias at a charity gala. I was serving drinks. They were the hosts. 3 identical triplet alpha kings with too much power and too little patience for social niceties. Adrian approached me first, asked if I wanted to leave the party and get real food. I thought he was joking. Alphas like them didn't notice Omegas like me. But he was serious. His brothers joined us. And somehow, impossibly, we talked until sunrise. The bond formed naturally, slowly. Over months of dinners and conversations and moments where I realized I was falling in love with 3 people who saw me. Really saw me. The bonding ceremony was private. Just us and a few witnesses. I bit each of their necks. They bit mine. The bond snapped into place so perfectly it felt like breathing. "This is forever," Sebastian had whispered. "You're ours. We're yours. Always." I believed him. God, I believed him so completely. For 3 years I lived in that belief. Woke up every morning surrounded by my mates. Felt the bond pulse with love and contentment. Built a life that felt unshakable. Then Adrian brought Brennan home. "He's from a pack that was destroyed," Adrian explained. "His family is gone, he has nowhere to go. I told him he could stay with us until he gets back on his feet." Brennan was beautiful, delicate, the kind of Omega that made people want to protect him. Dark hair, wide eyes, a smile that seemed innocent but never quite reached those eyes. "Thank you for letting me stay," he said that first day. "I promise I won't be any trouble." "Of course not," I told him. "You're welcome here. Stay as long as you need." I meant it. I genuinely meant it. Because I understood what it was like to need help. To be alone. I had no idea I was inviting in the person who would destroy everything. The first week was fine. Brennan was quiet, kept to himself, thanked me every time I made meals, seemed genuinely grateful. But then small things started happening. Things so subtle I almost didn't notice. Adrian started working later. Said he was helping Brennan sort through legal documents for his pack's estate. Made sense. Adrian handled that kind of thing. Sebastian started missing our morning runs. Said Brennan had nightmares and needed company. I understood. Trauma was real. Matthias started having dinner in his office. Said Brennan felt uncomfortable eating with everyone and needed someone to sit with him. I got it. Adjustment took time. At first I made excuses for all of it. They were being kind, being helpful, being the good people I'd fallen in love with. But then the excuses started piling up, one after another after another. "Can't do date night this week, Luca. Brennan needs help picking out furniture for his room." "Sorry, missed our anniversary dinner. Brennan had a panic attack and we couldn't leave him alone. Hey, can you sleep in the guest room tonight?" "Brennan's having nightmares and needs to be near someone. The master bedroom is bigger." That last one. That's when I should have said something. Should have pushed back. Should have demanded answers. But I didn't. Because I was still making excuses. Still trying to be understanding. Still believing that my mates loved me and this was just temporary. 3 months passed, then 6, and I watched myself disappear. They stopped touching me, stopped scenting me. The bond that used to pulse constantly went quiet. Not broken, never broken, but dimmed. Like they'd turned down the volume on us. I started eating alone, sleeping alone, spending entire days without seeing any of them. When I did see them, they were always with Brennan, laughing at his jokes, bringing him gifts, treating him like he was precious, treating him the way they used to treat me. I tried talking to Adrian about it, caught him in his office one evening. "Can we talk?" I asked. "About us? About how things have changed?" He barely looked up from his paperwork. "Things haven't changed, Luca." We're just helping Brennan adjust. Don't make this into something it's not. But it feels like... You're being dramatic, he interrupted. Brennan has been through trauma. We're being supportive. That's what good people do. I left his office feeling worse than when I'd entered. Like I was the problem. Like I was being selfish for wanting my mate's attention. I tried with Sebastian next. Found him in the training room with Brennan, teaching him combat moves. Can we spar? I asked. Like we used to? Sebastian glanced at me. Not right now. I'm helping Brennan learn to defend himself. Maybe later. Later never came. Matthias was the worst, because he'd always been the most attentive, the one who noticed when I was struggling, who checked in without me asking. But now when I tried to talk to him, he dismissed me, said I was imagining things, said I should be grateful they were kind enough to help someone in need, should be grateful, like I was the one being unreasonable. 6 months after Brennan arrived, I realized I couldn't remember the last time any of them had said I love you, couldn't remember the last time we'd been intimate, couldn't remember the last time I'd felt like I mattered. The bond was still there, still connecting us, but it felt like a phone line no one was answering. I started making plans, important things I needed them to attend, trying to recreate moments that used to matter. My art exhibition at the Capitol Gallery. I'd been working on paintings for 2 years. The opening was scheduled for a Saturday evening. I told them about it 6 weeks in advance, made sure they marked their calendars. Got verbal confirmations from all 3. They'll come, I told myself. They promised. The day of the exhibition arrived. I stood in the gallery surrounded by my work, paintings that showed my journey, my love, my bond with my mates. Other artists had their families there, partners, friends, support. I had empty space. I called Adrian. No answer. Called Sebastian. Voicemail. Called Matthias. Phone was off. 2 hours into the exhibition, I finally got a text. From Matthias. Sorry. Brennan had an episode. We couldn't leave him alone. We'll make it up to you. I stood there staring at my phone, at the lie typed out so casually, because I could feel through the bond, could feel that they weren't dealing with an emergency. They were happy, content, together. Just not with me. I left my own exhibition early, came home to an empty house, sat in our bedroom, the one I slept in alone now, and cried. Silent tears, the kind that hurt more than sobs. The bond pulsed weakly, like my mates could feel my distress but chose to ignore it. That's when I knew, really knew. I was losing them, maybe had already lost them. But I had one more chance, one more important event, one more opportunity to see if they still cared. My heat was coming. I could feel it. 3 days away. Maybe 4. Bonded omegas needed their alphas during heat. It was biological, essential. The bond demanded it. Surely they'd come for that. Surely they wouldn't leave me alone during something so vulnerable. I told them at breakfast. The one meal we still technically shared, though they usually ate quickly and left. My heat's coming, I said. In a few days. Adrian nodded. Didn't look up from his tablet. We'll make sure you have supplies. Supplies. Like I was going through a cold, not a heat, not something that required my bonded mates. You'll be there, right? I asked. Voice smaller than I wanted. All 3 of you? Of course, Sebastian said. But he was looking at Brennan, who'd gone pale. I can't be here for that, Brennan said quickly. The scent. It'll trigger me. My trauma. My mates immediately focused on him, comforting him, reassuring him. No one looked at me. We'll figure it out, Matthias said. Don't worry, Brennan. We'll make sure you're comfortable. And I knew, sitting there, at that table, watching them prioritize another Omega's comfort over my heat. I knew. They weren't coming. The heat hit on a Wednesday, hard and fast and overwhelming. I locked myself in our bedroom, the one that smelled like all of us. Or used to. Now it mostly smelled like me. I called for them through the bond, sent desperate pulses, need, pain, please. Nothing came back. The bond stayed quiet. I called Adrian's phone, Sebastian's, Matthias's. No one answered. The heat peaked. My body screaming for my mates, for the bond to be fulfilled, for the biological need that bonded Omegas couldn't ignore. But they did. They ignored it. Ignored me. For 3 days I suffered alone, in a house with my mates somewhere in it. They were there. I could feel them through the bond. Could feel them alive and well and choosing not to come, choosing him over me. On the 3rd day, when the heat finally broke, I dragged myself out of bed. Weak, dehydrated, emotionally destroyed. I found them in the sitting room, all 3 of them, with Brennan, playing cards, laughing. They looked up when I appeared, all 4 of them. "Oh, Luca," Adrian said. "You're up. Feeling better." Feeling better. Like I'd had a headache. Not like I'd just spent 3 days in heat without my bonded mates. "Why didn't you come?" I asked. Voice raw. "Why didn't any of you come?" The room went quiet. Brennan was having a hard time, Sebastian said. The scent was triggering his trauma. We couldn't leave him alone. "So you left me alone instead," I said. "You're strong," Matthias said. "You've always been independent. Brennan needed us more." I stared at them, at the 3 alphas I'd bonded with, who'd promised forever, who'd vowed to protect and cherish me. And I realized they'd already made their choice. And it wasn't me. "Do you even love me anymore?" I whispered. The silence was answer enough. "Of course we do," Adrian said finally, but it felt automatic, like a script. "Don't be dramatic, Luca." "I'm not being dramatic," I said. "You left me alone during my heat. You missed my exhibition. You've stopped touching me, stopped seeing me. Stopped everything that made us us." "We've been busy," Sebastian said, "helping Brennan." "It's been months," I said. "Months of you choosing him over me. Months of me disappearing. And you haven't even noticed." "That's not fair," Matthias said. "We're doing our best." "Your best used to include me," I said. "Now it doesn't. So tell me the truth. Do you want me here any more?" More silence. Brennan stood up. "I should go." "This is between you 4. "No," I said. "Stay. Because I think you're the problem. I think you've been manipulating them, making them choose." Brennan's eyes widened, filled with tears. "I would never. I'm just trying to heal." "See?" Adrian said, going to Brennan. "You're attacking him. He's been through enough." "And I haven't?" I asked. "I've been abandoned by my mates, isolated in my own home, ignored during my heat, but sure. Protect him." "You're being unreasonable," Sebastian said. "Am I?" I looked at each of them, at the 3 faces I used to love, used to trust, or am I finally seeing clearly? "If you're unhappy," Matthias said carefully, "maybe you should take some time, go somewhere, figure out what you want, figure out what I want." I laughed. It was a broken sound. "I want my mates back. I want the life we had." "But you've already replaced me, haven't you?" "With him." "That's not," Adrian started. "Save it," I interrupted. "I'm done. I'm done fighting for scraps, done begging for attention, done being invisible in my own bond." I walked toward the door, stopped, looked back one more time. "When you realize what you've lost," I said, "it'll be too late." Then I left, walked out of the house I'd called home, away from the bond that was killing me, into the unknown. I didn't look back. The first night alone I stayed in a hotel, cheap, anonymous, the kind of place that didn't ask questions. I sat on the bed and waited for the bond to pull me back, for my mates to realize I was gone, for someone to come find me. The bond stayed quiet, not broken, never broken, but silent, like they'd muted me completely. I cried that night, deep, ugly sobs, mourning everything I'd lost, everything they'd thrown away. But when morning came, something else rose, something that felt like anger, like determination. I wasn't going to die from a broken bond, wasn't going to waste away waiting for alphas who didn't want me. I was going to survive, and maybe, eventually, thrive. I found a small apartment across the city, 1 bedroom, barely furnished, but it was mine. No one else's scent, no memories. Just space. I got a job at a bookstore, something quiet, something that let me rebuild slowly. And I started healing, piece by piece, day by day. 3 weeks after I left, something happened. I woke up nauseous, thought it was stress, but it kept happening, morning after morning. Then I missed my heat, which was odd. Bonded omegas had regular cycles. I bought a test, Took it in the tiny bathroom of my apartment and stared at the results. Positive. I was pregnant. My hand went to my stomach, flat still. But there was a life growing there. A baby from my heat. The heat my mates had ignored. They don't know, I thought. They left me alone and I got pregnant and they don't even know. I should tell them. Should let them know they were going to be fathers. But the thought of seeing them, of hearing more excuses, of watching them choose Brennan again. I couldn't do it, so I made a decision. I would raise this baby alone, without the alphas who'd abandoned me, without the bond that had broken me, just me and my child. The pregnancy was hard. Bonded omega bodies expected their alphas to be present, expected support and protection. Mine had neither. I was sick constantly, exhausted, working full-time while growing a life, barely making rent. But I survived, because that's what I did. Survived. At 4 months, I finally went to a healer, a kind beta woman who didn't ask questions about the baby's father. You're carrying an alpha, she told me. Strong heartbeat. Developing well despite the stress you're under. An alpha. My baby would be an alpha. I cried in that examination room. Happy tears, sad tears, complicated tears. Are you alone in this? The healer asked gently. I nodded. You shouldn't be, she said. Omega pregnancies are hard. Bonded omega pregnancies without their alphas are dangerous. I know, I whispered. Is there anyone I can call? Anyone who should know? I thought about Adrian, Sebastian, and Matthias, about the bond that still connected us, about the baby they'd helped create without knowing. No, I said. There's no one. 6 months into the pregnancy, the bond started acting strange, pulsing with confusion, with concern. They'd finally noticed something was wrong. Maybe they'd felt my emotional state through the bond. Maybe they'd realized I'd been gone for half a year. Either way, I felt them reaching out, trying to connect, trying to find me. I blocked them, pushed them away, refused to let them in. They'd had months to notice, each months to care. Now it was too late. My baby started kicking at 7 months. Strong kicks, alpha strength even in the womb. I talked to him, late at night in my tiny apartment, told him about his fathers, about how much I'd loved them, about how it hadn't been enough. You'll be enough, I whispered. Just you and me. We'll be enough. At 8 months, a knock came on my door. I opened it cautiously, found Adrian standing there. He looked terrible, thin, tired, like he hadn't slept in weeks. Luca, he said, voice breaking. You're pregnant, I finished. Yes. Is it? Are we? Yes, I said. It's yours. All 3 of yours. He stared at my swollen stomach, at the proof of what he'd missed, what they'd all missed. Why didn't you tell us? He asked. Because you didn't care, I said. You left me alone during my heat. This is the consequence. We were wrong, he said desperately. We know that now. We've been looking for you for months. Months, I repeated. It took months for you to notice I was gone. Brennan was. Don't, I interrupted. Don't blame him. You made choices. All 3 of you. You chose him over me repeatedly. This is just you living with those choices. Please, Adrian said. Come home. We want to fix this. Fix this? I laughed. You can't fix this. You broke something that can't be repaired. Our baby, he tried. My baby, I corrected. Mine, not ours. You gave up that right when you abandoned me. Luca. Leave, I said. Go back to Brennan. Go back to the life you chose and leave me alone. I closed the door in his face, locked it, leaned against it while he knocked and begged on the other side. Eventually, he left, and I cried. Because some part of me still loved him, still wanted to believe they could fix it. But I knew better now. Knew that some things once broken stayed broken. But what I didn't know was that while Adrian was at my door, Sebastian and Matthias were discovering the truth about Brennan. The truth that would change everything. Let me take you back. Show you what was happening while I was building my life alone. While I was protecting our baby. While I was surviving without them. Because they were finally waking up. Finally seeing. Finally understanding what they'd lost. It started with Sebastian. He'd always been the most observant. The one who noticed details others missed. 3 weeks after I'd left, he'd been in the library, looking for a book, found Brennan there instead. "Oh, Sebastian," Brennan had said, startled. I didn't hear you come in." "Sorry," Sebastian had said, "just looking for something to read." Brennan had smiled. That innocent smile. "You work too hard. You should rest more." "Can't," Sebastian had said. "Too much to do." "Is it about Luca?" Brennan had asked. "Are you still looking for him?" And something in the way he'd said my name, something cold, something satisfied, had made Sebastian pause. "We're worried," Sebastian had said carefully. He just left. No note. No explanation. "Maybe he wanted to leave," Brennan had said. "Maybe he was unhappy." "He didn't seem unhappy," Sebastian had said. "We were bonded, content." "Were you, though?" Brennan had asked. "Or were you just going through the motions?" "What do you mean, Brennan had said, leaning forward. "Did you really love him? Or was he just convenient?" Sebastian had gone cold. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying maybe this is better," Brennan had said. "Now you're free. We're all free. You can focus on what really matters." "And you?" Sebastian had asked quietly. "What do you matter?" Brennan had smiled again, reached out, touched Sebastian's arm. "I matter because I understand you," he'd said, better than he ever did. Sebastian had pulled away, suddenly seeing, really seeing. "Did you do something?" he'd asked. "Did you make Luca leave?" Brennan's smile had faltered. "Of course not. Why would I?" But his eyes had said otherwise. Sebastian had left the library, found Matthias, told him about the conversation, and Matthias, always the strategist, had started investigating. What they found destroyed them. Text messages on Brennan's phone that he'd forgotten to delete. Messages to an unknown number, detailing his plans, his manipulation. "They're falling for it. The Omega is isolating himself. Give it another month and he'll leave. Adrian is completely focused on me now. Sebastian, too. Matthias is harder, but he's cracking. Once Luca is gone, they'll be mine. All mine." Photos of Brennan that weren't candid, that were posed, calculated, designed to look vulnerable, and worst of all, a journal, hidden in Brennan's room. Pages and pages detailing his obsession with the Triplet Kings, his plan to seduce them, to remove their bonded Omega, to take my place. Matthias had read it aloud to his brothers, all three of them sitting in Adrian's office, faces pale. Day 1. I've been accepted into their home. The Omega, Luca, is trusting, naive. This will be easy. Day 45. They're spending more time with me, less with him. Wait, he's starting to notice, but he's too weak to fight back. Day 120. His exhibition is tomorrow. I've convinced them he doesn't really need them there, that I need them more. Perfect. Day 135. His heat started today. I can smell it even from my room. He's calling for them through the bond. But I've convinced them my trauma is more important. They're staying with me. He'll break soon. Day 140. He left. Finally. Now they're mine. Adrian had thrown up. Actually vomited from the revelation. From understanding what they'd done. What they'd allowed to happen. We destroyed him, Matthias had whispered. We chose a manipulator over our mate. Sebastian had been crying. 6 months. 6 months we let this happen. Where is he? Adrian had asked. Where's Luca? We don't know, Matthias had said. I've been looking. But he's hidden himself well. And Brennan? Sebastian had asked. Voice cold. Adrian had stood. Called for guards. Had Brennan brought to his office. When Brennan arrived, still playing innocent, still smiling, Adrian had thrown the journal at his feet. You're done here, Adrian had said. You have 1 hour to pack. Then you leave. I don't understand, Brennan had tried. Save it, Matthias had said. We know everything. Every lie. Every manipulation. You can't prove anything, Brennan had said, voice finally showing his true nature. It's your word against mine. Your journal is pretty damning, Sebastian had said. Brennan's face had twisted, from innocent to ugly in seconds. You chose me, he'd snarled. All of you. I gave you what he couldn't. You gave us lies, Adrian had said. You manipulated us, destroyed our bond with our mate. Your mate who left. Brennan had laughed. Face, you don't really want him. You want me. No, all three had said together. We don't. The guards had dragged Brennan out, still screaming, still insisting they'd chosen him, that they'd wanted him. And the triplets had been left with the truth, with the knowledge of what they'd done, what they'd lost. That's when they started searching for me, really searching, using every resource, every connection. But I was good at hiding, had learned from the best, had wanted to disappear. For months they searched, while I grew bigger, while our baby grew stronger, while I built a life without them, until Adrian finally found me, through the bond, through sheer desperation, and I'd closed the door in his face. The baby was born 3 weeks after that encounter, after I'd sent Adrian away. After I'd chosen to keep doing this alone, the labor was hard, terrifying. I had no mate to call, no bond to lean on, just me and a healer who held my hand through the worst of it. But when my son was born, when they placed him on my chest, tiny and perfect and mine, I knew I'd made the right choice. He had dark hair like me, eyes that would probably turn green like Adrian's, strong lungs like Sebastian, patient grip like Matthias. He was all of us, all of them, even though they didn't know he existed yet. "What are you going to name him?" the healer asked. I looked at my son, at the life I'd protected, at the baby who'd survived my broken heart and made me whole again. "River," I said. "His name is River, because rivers flow forward, never backward, and that's what we were going to do, flow forward. Without the alphas who'd broken us, without the bond that had failed, just me and River, building something new. The first weeks with River were hard, new father, alone, recovering from birth while caring for an infant, but also beautiful, because he was mine, wholly mine, and no one could take that from me. I just put River down for a nap, was finally sitting down myself. When another knock came, I should have ignored it, should have pretended no one was home. But something made me open the door. All three of them stood there, Adrian, Sebastian, Matthias, looking like they hadn't slept, hadn't eaten, hadn't lived since I'd left. "We know," Adrian said immediately. "About Brennan, about what he did, about everything." I started to close the door. They blocked it. "Please," Sebastian said, "just listen. 5 minutes. That's all we ask." Against my better judgment, I let them in, kept myself between them and River's room. "We were wrong," Matthias started, "so wrong. We let him manipulate us. Let him turn us against you. Let him destroy what we had." I stared at them. "Where's this coming from?" "Guilt." "Truth," Adrian said. "We found his journal, his texts, his whole plan. He was manipulating us from the beginning. And God, we fell for it." "So you're not in love with him?" I asked, voice cold. "No," all three said together. "But you acted like you were," I said, "for months. You chose him over me repeatedly. You left me alone during my heat. Missed my exhibition. Made me invisible." "We know," Sebastian whispered, "and we're sorry. So fucking sorry." "Sorry doesn't fix anything," I said. "Sorry doesn't give me back the months I spent alone, scared. Pregnant with your child. That stopped them cold." "Pregnant?" Matthias asked. You had our baby." I stepped aside, showed them River's room, showed them the proof, sleeping peacefully in a crib. All three of them went white. "Boy or girl?" Adrian asked. "Boy," I said. "His name is River. He's 3 weeks old, and he's mine." They moved toward the room. I blocked them. "No," I said. "You don't get to see him. Don't get to be fathers. You gave that up." "Luca," Sebastian said. "Please. Let us." "Let you what?" I asked. "Meet him. Love him. Be there for him. Like you were there for me during my heat. Like you were there for my exhibition. Like you've been there at all." "We want to make it right," Matthias said. "You can't," I said. "Some things can't be fixed. Our bond is one of them." "But River," Adrian tried, "is better off without you," I finished. "Without alphas who choose manipulation over truth, who can't tell when they're being used, who abandon their mate when he needs them most." "We were manipulated," Sebastian said. "We didn't know." "You could have known," I said, "if you'd paid attention. If you'd listened when I tried to tell you something was wrong. If you'd cared enough to see." "We did care," Matthias said desperately. "Not enough," I said. "You cared about Brennan more, about his comfort, his trauma, his needs. What about mine? What about my needs?" "You're right," Adrian said. "You're absolutely right. And we'll spend the rest of our lives regretting it. But please, don't punish our son for our mistakes. That hit. Hard. Because he was right. River deserved to know his fathers, even if his fathers had been idiots. But I was scared. Scared they'd hurt him. Scared they'd choose someone else again. Scared they'd break my baby's heart the way they'd broken mine." "I need time," I said finally. "To think. To decide what's best for River." "How much time?" Sebastian asked. "I don't know," I said. "Months. Maybe longer. But you don't get to rush me. Don't get to demand anything." "We won't," Matthias promised. "We'll wait. As long as it takes." "And Brennan?" I asked. "Where is he?" "Gone," Adrian said. "Banished. He'll never come near us again." I nodded. Good. They left. But not before each of them touched the door frame of River's room, like they were trying to connect with the sun they couldn't see. And I watched them go, feeling torn, feeling confused, feeling like maybe, possibly, there might be a path forward, but only if they proved they'd changed, proved they'd learned. It proved they could be the fathers River deserved and the mates I'd needed. That would take time, lots of time, and maybe it would never happen. But for the first time in months, I had hope, small, fragile, but there, because River deserved a complete family, even if getting there meant I had to forgive the unforgivable. And maybe I was strong enough to try. 6 months passed. They came by every week, never pushed, never demanded, just asked if they could see River, asked if I needed anything, asked how I was healing. Every time I said no, but every time it got a little easier to think about saying yes. Then River got sick. High fever. Nothing worked. The healer said he needed his father's scent. That bonded alpha offspring needed that connection. I called them, all 3 of them, told them to come. They arrived in minutes, rushed into River's room and for the first time held their son. The change was immediate. River calmed. His fever started dropping. The bond, the one connecting him to his father's, pulsed strongly for the first time. I watched them cry, watched them hold him, watched them whisper promises and apologies and love. And something in me broke, or healed. I wasn't sure which. Maybe both. "I love you," I said, to all 3 of them, to River, to the family we could still be. "I still love you, and I hate that I do, but I can't stop." "We love you too," Adrian said. "Never stopped, never will." And slowly, carefully, we started rebuilding. Started being a family. Started figuring out how to be us again. It wasn't easy. It wasn't perfect. There were setbacks, arguments, moments where I almost walked away again. But we kept trying, kept choosing each other, kept choosing River. And eventually, 2 years later, we renewed our bond. Rebit, repromised, recommitted to forever. This time we meant it. This time we knew what we had. This time, no one could take it away. Thank you for being part of this journey. If this story moved you, subscribe, share it. Let others know that sometimes love gets a second chance, that families can heal, that mistakes don't have to be permanent. Be brave enough to leave when you're not valued. Be brave enough to return when things change. Be brave enough to protect what matters most. That's everything. That's all that counts. But let me tell you about those 2 years. About the hard parts nobody talks about. About what it really takes to rebuild trust after betrayal. Because it wasn't a fairy tale. Wasn't instant forgiveness. Wasn't me opening the door and everything being perfect again. It was work. Hard, painful, necessary work. The first month after they met River, we set boundaries. Strict ones. They could visit twice a week. 1 hour each time. Always supervised by me. No taking him alone. No making promises they couldn't keep. Adrian hated it. I could see the frustration in his eyes. The alpha instinct to claim his son, to take him home. But he didn't push. None of them did. They came every Tuesday and Friday. Brought gifts I didn't ask for. Toys River was too young to use. Books they wanted to read to him someday. and they sat in my tiny living room holding their son, looking at me like I was something precious they'd broken and desperately wanted to repair. The first time Sebastian asked if he could feed River, I said no, automatically. He nodded. Didn't argue. Just held River and looked content with that small thing. But I saw the hurt in his eyes. Saw how much it cost him to accept my boundaries. And part of me was glad. Part of me wanted them to hurt the way I'd hurt. That was the ugliest part of healing. Acknowledging that I wanted revenge, wanted them to suffer, wanted them to feel a fraction of what I'd felt. My therapist, a kind beta woman I'd started seeing after River was born, told me that was normal. You're allowed to be angry, she said. You're allowed to want justice. The key is not letting that anger poison your future. But how do I forgive them? I asked. How do I let go of what they did? You don't let go, she said. You integrate it. You acknowledge the pain while also acknowledging their genuine remorse. You hold both truths at once. It sounded impossible, but I tried. Month 2, I let them stay for 2 hours. Let Matthias change River's diaper. Let Adrian give him a bottle. Watch them be gentle with our son. Careful, loving, and felt something soften in my chest. Maybe they really had changed. Maybe they really understood what they'd lost. Month 3, Sebastian asked if we could talk, just the two of us, while the others watched River. I agreed. We sat on my tiny balcony. City noise below. Silence between us. I need you to understand something, he said finally. What Brennan did. The way he manipulated us. It doesn't excuse our behavior. No, I agreed, it doesn't. We should have seen it, he continued. Should have listened when you said something was wrong, should have prioritized you. Our mate, our bond. Yes, I said. You should have. He looked at me, eyes red. Why did you come back? Why are you letting us near River? Because he deserves his father's, I said, even if his father's hurt me. And you? He asked. Do you? Can you ever forgive us? I don't know, I said honestly. Some days I think maybe. Other days I remember my heat. Remember being alone. Remember thinking I was going to die and you didn't care. Sebastian made a wounded sound. We did care. We were so blind. Blind because you chose to be, I said. Blind because it was easier than admitting you'd been fooled. You're right, he whispered. You're absolutely right. I am, I said. And acknowledging that is the first step. But it's not enough. You have to prove you've changed. Prove I can trust you again. We will, he promised. However long it takes. It might take forever, I warned. I might never fully trust you again. Then we'll spend forever proving ourselves, he said. And somehow that helped. Knowing they understood the magnitude of what they'd broken. Knowing they weren't expecting instant forgiveness. Month 4, they asked if they could take River to the park. All 3 of them, with me. I hesitated, then agreed. We went as a group, 5 of us, looking like a family, feeling like strangers. River giggled when Adrian pushed him on the baby swing, reached for Sebastian when he picked flowers, fell asleep on Matthias's shoulder, and I watched them be fathers, watched River bond with his alphas, watched something I'd thought was impossible become real. On the way home, Matthias asked, "Can we do this again? All of us together?" I thought about it, about how it felt to be a family, about how River deserved this. Yes, I said, we can do it again. Month 5, River got his first tooth. I called them immediately, excited, wanting to share. They came running, all 3 of them, crowded into my apartment to see their son's tiny tooth. And it felt normal, natural, like we were parents together, like the bond had never broken. That night after they left, I cried, because I wanted this, wanted them, wanted us to work, but I was still scared, still waiting for them to choose someone else, still bracing for abandonment. My therapist said it would take time, that trust rebuilt slowly, that I had to be patient with myself. So I tried to be patient, tried to believe they'd changed, tried to hope. Month 6, Adrian asked if I'd go to dinner with them, just adults, a date. Or I hadn't been on a date with them in over a year. Not since before Brennan. I almost said no, almost made an excuse. But something stopped me. Okay, I said, one dinner. They took me to the restaurant where we'd had our first date, years ago. when everything was new and perfect. We sat at the same table, ordered the same food, but everything was different. We talked about River, about how he was growing, about his firsts, his favorites, his personality emerging, and then Adrian said, "We miss you." Not just as River's father, as our mate, as Luca. I looked at my plate. I miss you too. But I don't know how to be that person anymore, the one who trusted you completely. You don't have to be, Sebastian said. You can be this person, the one who's been hurt, who's cautious, who's protecting himself. But we want you to know, Matthias added, we're here, when you're ready. If you're ever ready, we're here. I felt tears burn. Why? Why do you want me? After everything? Because you're our mate, Adrian said simply. Because we love you. Because we were idiots who almost lost the best thing that ever happened to us. Because we can't imagine life without you, Sebastian added. Because you're it for us, Matthias finished. Always have been. Always will be. I cried then. Right there in the restaurant. And they didn't try to stop me, just held my hands and let me feel it. What if I can't forgive you? I asked. What if it's too broken? Then we'll love you anyway, Adrian said. We'll be there for River. We'll be your friends, your co-parents. Whatever you can give us, we'll take. That's what broke me, not the promises, the acceptance, the willingness to take whatever I could offer. I want to try, I whispered. Want to see if we can fix this. All three of them looked at me with such hope it hurt. Really? Sebastian asked. Really, I said, but slowly, with rules, with honesty. Whatever you need, Matthias promised. Month 7, they moved me out of my tiny apartment into a house, not their estate, somewhere neutral, somewhere that could be ours. 3 bedrooms, yard, space for River to grow, space for us to rebuild. I had my own room. They shared one. River had the nursery. We were together but separate. Family, but not fully bonded again. And it worked. Somehow, it worked. We had dinner together every night. Took turns with River's bedtime routine. Started talking about real things again. Month 8, we started couples therapy, all 4 of us. Working through the trauma, the betrayal, the manipulation. The therapist asked hard questions, made us confront ugly truths, pushed us to be honest even when it hurt. How did it feel when they chose Brennan over your heat? She asked me one session. Like dying, I said. Like the bond was killing me. Like I didn't matter. And how does hearing that make you feel? She asked them. Adrian couldn't speak. Just cried. Sebastian looked sick. Matthias went white. We did that to you, Matthias said. We made you feel like you didn't matter. Yes, I said. You did. Can you forgive us? Adrian asked. I looked at them. At 3 alphas who'd broken me and were trying desperately to heal me. I'm trying, I said. I'm really trying. That's enough, the therapist said. Trying is enough. Month 9, something shifted. I started sleeping better, laughing more, feeling like maybe I was healing. River started walking, took his first steps toward his father's, all 3 of them cheering, me recording it, all of us crying happy tears. This is what family looks like, I thought. This is what we're building. That night after River was asleep, I knocked on their bedroom door. They opened it, confused, concerned. Can I? I stopped, started again. Can I sleep here tonight? Just sleep. Nothing else. They moved aside immediately, made space. Let me crawl into the bed that smelled like them, and I slept better than I had in over a year, surrounded by my mates, safe, protected, home. Month 10, we started being intimate again, slowly, carefully, with lots of communication. Is this okay? They'd ask. Do you want this? Can we touch here? And I'd answer honestly, yes, no, not yet. Give me time. They were patient, so patient, never pushed, never demanded, just loved me at the pace I could handle. The first time we made love after everything, I cried through it, from happiness, from relief, from feeling connected again. And they held me after. All 3 of them. Told me they loved me. Told me they'd never let me go again. I believed them. Finally, I believed them. Month 11, they asked me to rebond, to make our connection permanent again. The bond had never broken, but it had dimmed, faded, become a whisper instead of a shout. Rebonding would restore it, make it strong again, make us truly whole. I said yes, because I wanted this, wanted them, wanted us. The ceremony was small, just us and River, no witnesses, no audience, just family. We bid again, in the same spots, reaffirming the connection that had survived everything, and the bond. God, the bond roared back to life, stronger than before, louder, more present. I could feel them again, really feel them, their love, their commitment, their determination to never fail me again. It was everything. Month 12, we moved to their estate, all of us together, truly together. No more separate rooms, no more boundaries, just family, whole and healing and home. River had his first birthday party there, surrounded by people who loved him, who'd fought for him, who'd almost lost everything and refused to give up. As I watched him smash cake into his face, surrounded by his fathers, I realized something. We'd survived. Not just survived, thrived. Yes, they'd hurt me. Yes, I'd almost lost everything. Yes, some days I still felt the scars. But we'd healed. Together. The hard way. The honest way. And that made us stronger than we'd been before. Made our love deeper. Our bond unbreakable. Year 2, River started talking. His first real word was Papa, looking at me. His second was Dada, looking at Adrian. His third was Daddy, looking at Sebastian. His fourth was Father, looking at Matthias. Because he had all of us. Because he'd never know what it was like to be without his family. Because we'd fought for this, bled for this, refused to let manipulation and mistakes destroy what we'd built. One evening after River was asleep, the four of us sat in the living room, just existing together. "Do you ever think about that day?" Adrian asked. "When you left?" "Every day," I said honestly. "It changed everything." "I'm sorry," he said. "For the 1,000th time. So sorry." "I know," I said. "And I've forgiven you. Really forgiven you." "Have you?" Sebastian asked. "Because sometimes I see it in your eyes. The fear that we'll do it again." "I won't lie," I said. "Sometimes I'm scared. Sometimes I wonder if I made the right choice coming back." "And?" Matthias prompted. "And then River laughs," I said. "Or you three do something stupid that makes me laugh. Or the bond pulses with love. And I remember why I chose this, why I chose you." "We'll never do it again," Adrian said fiercely. "Never choose anyone over you. Never let anyone manipulate us." "I know," I said. "I trust you. Finally, I trust you." "That means everything," Sebastian said, voice thick. "You mean everything," Matthias added. We sat there in comfortable silence, four people who'd broken and healed and become something stronger. And I thought about Brennan, about how he'd tried to destroy us, about how he'd almost succeeded, but he hadn't, because love, real love, survives. Even when it's tested, even when it's broken, it survives. 5 years after River's birth, we had another baby, a daughter we named Hope, because that's what she represented. Hope that our family was solid. Hope that we'd truly healed. Hope for our future. 10 years after that day I walked out, I stood in our home watching my family. River was 11, Hope was 6, and our youngest, a son named Phoenix, was 3. They were playing together, laughing, fighting, being siblings, and my mates were watching them with such love it made my heart ache. "We made it," Adrian said softly, coming to stand beside me. "Yeah," I said. "We did." "I never thought," he started, "after what we did, I never thought you'd give us another chance." "Me neither," I admitted. "But you proved you'd changed. Proved you were worth the risk." "Best decision you ever made," Sebastian joked, joining us. "Second best," I corrected. "First was leaving. Second was coming back." "Ouch," Matthias said, appearing on my other side. "But fair." We stood there, the four of us, watching our children, our family, our life. And I realized something. The pain of that year, the isolation, the pregnancy alone, the fear and hurt and betrayal. It had made us who we were, had taught us what mattered, had shown us that love required work and honesty and choosing each other every single day. Was it worth it? Adrian asked. All of it. Was it worth the pain? I looked at him. At the alpha who'd found me first, who'd courted me, who'd broken my heart and worked tirelessly to repair it. Yes, I said, because it gave us this. It taught us how to fight for what matters, how to recognize manipulation, how to choose each other even when it's hard. And River, Sebastian added. It gave us River. And hope, Matthias said, and Phoenix. And this, I finished, this family, this life, this love that survived everything. That night after the children were asleep, the four of us renewed our bond again, as we did every year, reaffirming our commitment, our love, our choice, and as I bit each of their necks, as they bit mine as the bond pulsed with life and love and unbreakable connection, I thought about young Luca, the one who'd walked out that door, the one who'd been so broken he didn't think he'd survive. I wanted to tell him, you do survive, you rebuild. You find strength you didn't know you had. You raise a beautiful son alone, you make hard choices, you protect what matters most, and eventually, if you're brave enough, you let them try again. You give love a second chance, because some things are worth fighting for, some bonds are worth rebuilding, some families are worth the pain. Thank you for being part of this journey from beginning to end, from isolation to family, from betrayal to trust, from broken to whole. If this story touched you, subscribe. Share it with someone who needs to know that second chances exist, that families can heal, that love, real love, survives. Drop a comment about a time you chose to trust again, about a time you rebuilt something broken, about a time love proved stronger than pain. Until next time, remember, you're stronger than you think, braver than you know, and worthy of love that chooses you every single day. Be brave enough to leave when you're not valued. Be brave enough to stay when things change. Be brave enough to fight for what matters most. That's everything. That's all that counts. That's the only story worth telling. But let me tell you about one more thing. One more piece of the story that matters. What happened to Brennan? Because that's the question everyone asks. The Omega who manipulated us, who destroyed our bond, who almost took everything. Where did he go? What became of him? 6 months after they'd banished him, I got a letter. Hand-delivered. No return address. I almost threw it away. Almost burned it without reading. But curiosity won. The letter was from Brennan. Dear Luca, it started. I know you hate me. You have every right to. What I did was unforgivable. I kept reading, against my better judgment. I was obsessed with them. The Triplet Kings. Their power. Their bond. Their perfection. I wanted to be part of that. Wanted to be chosen by them. When I heard they were bonded to you, I was jealous, furious. How dare a common Omega have what I deserved? So I made a plan. I would infiltrate your life, make them love me, make them choose me, and it worked, for a while. They did choose me, did push you away, did give me everything I wanted, but it wasn't real. None of it was real. They were manipulated. And when they discovered the truth, they looked at me with such disgust. I've never felt more alone. I'm writing this to say I'm sorry. I know it doesn't fix anything, doesn't undo the damage. But I need you to know I regret it. I hurt you, hurt them. I hurt myself. All for something that was never mine to take. I hope you can find happiness. Hope you can rebuild what I destroyed. Hope someday you can forgive me. But I understand if you can't. Sincerely, Brennan. I stared at the letter for a long time, feeling complicated things. Anger. Because he destroyed my life, sadness because he was clearly broken, understanding, because I knew what obsession looked like. I showed the letter to my mates. They read it in silence. What do you want to do? Adrian asked. Do you want to respond? No, I said. I don't think I do. Do you forgive him? Sebastian asked. I thought about forgiveness, about moving forward. I don't forgive him, I said finally. But I don't hate him either. He's just someone who made terrible choices, someone I hope finds help. That's generous, Matthias said. It's honest, I corrected. I'm not going to waste energy hating him. He's not worth that. And that was that. I never heard from Brennan again. Never knew what became of him. But I hoped he found peace, found help, found a way to heal his own broken pieces. because holding on to hate would have poisoned me, would have kept me trapped in the past, and I refused to be trapped anymore. Years later, River asked me about that time, about why I'd been gone when he was born. We were sitting in the garden. He was 8, old enough to understand some things, not everything. "Papa," he said, "why aren't there any pictures of you pregnant with me?" I paused, choosing my words carefully. "Because I was going through something hard," I said. "Something with your fathers. We were separated for a while." "Why?" he asked. "Because sometimes even people who love each other make mistakes," I said. "Sometimes they hurt each other without meaning to." "Did they hurt you?" he asked, voice small. "Yes," I said, honestly. "They did. But they also fixed it. They worked hard to make things right." "Are you still hurt?" he asked. "Sometimes," I admitted. "But mostly I'm healed. Mostly I'm happy." "Because of them?" he asked. "Because of you," I said. "And them? And the family we built together." He thought about that, then asked, "If they hurt you again, would you leave?" I looked at him, at my son, at the boy who'd saved me. "I hope I never have to answer that," I said. "But if I did, if I had to, I would do whatever protected you. Always." He nodded, satisfied with that answer. As he ran off to play, Adrian appeared beside me. "Hard conversation?" he asked, the first of many. I said. "He's going to ask more as he gets older, about why I left, about that year." "What will you tell him?" Adrian asked. "The truth," I said. "That his fathers made mistakes, that I forgave them, that love is complicated." "And if he asks if you still trust us?" Adrian asked quietly. I looked at him, at the alpha who'd broken me and spent years proving he'd changed. "I'll tell him yes," I said, "that I trust you completely." "Because I do." Adrian's eyes went wet. "Thank you," he whispered, "for giving us another chance, for trusting us with River, with Hope, with Phoenix, with you." "Thank you for proving you deserved it," I said. That became our pattern. Gratitude. Both ways, never taking each other for granted, always remembering what we'd almost lost. At Hope's 5th birthday party, I watched my mates with our children. Adrian teaching River to fight, Sebastian helping Hope paint, Matthias reading to Phoenix. They were good fathers, attentive, present, everything I'd needed them to be, and I realized I'd truly forgiven them, completely. The anger was gone, the fear was gone, just love remained. That night I told them, "I've forgiven you," I said, "fully, completely, no more holding back, no more walls." All 3 of them cried, ugly relieved tears. "We don't deserve you," Adrian said. "Maybe not," I agreed, "but you've earned me. That's what matters." When our youngest was born, Phoenix, I was surrounded by support. All 3 mates present, River and Hope waiting outside with my parents. The labor was easier this time, because I wasn't alone, wasn't scared, wasn't wondering if I'd survive without them. When Phoenix cried, when they placed him on my chest, I looked at my mates. "This is what it should have been," I said. "With River, all of us together." "We're sorry we missed it," Sebastian said. "Sorry we weren't there." "You're here now," I said. "That's what matters." And it was. The past was the past. We'd learned from it, grown from it, become better because of it. On our 10th anniversary of rebonding, we had a ceremony. Not for anyone else, just for us. We stood in our garden, under the stars, and renewed our vows again. Adrian went first. "I promise to see you, really see you, to never let anyone or anything make me blind to what matters most." Sebastian went second. "I promise to listen, to hear when you're hurting, to never dismiss your pain as less important than someone else's." Matthias went third. "I promise to choose you, every day, every moment, in every decision. You first, always." Then it was my turn. "I promise to trust you," I said, "to believe in us, to remember that mistakes don't define us if we learn from them. I promise to love you," I continued, "through hard times, through doubts, through whatever comes next. I promise to be yours," I finished, "as you are mine, forever." We bid again, reaffirming the bond for the 10th time, making it stronger with each renewal. And as the bond pulsed, as our children cheered, as my mates held me, I thought about that day in the sitting room, when I'd walked out, when I'd given up, when I'd thought it was over. If I could go back and tell myself anything, it would be this. You're going to be okay. Better than okay. You're going to build something beautiful from these ashes. You're going to raise an amazing son alone. You're going to find strength you didn't know existed, and eventually you're going to let them try again. Let them prove they've changed. Let yourself believe in second chances. It's going to be hard. So hard. But it's going to be worth it. Because love that survives betrayal is stronger than love that never faced it. Because bonds that rebuild are unbreakable. Because families that fight for each other are unstoppable. You're going to be okay, Luca. More than okay. You're going to thrive. 15 years after that day I left, River graduated from the Alpha Academy. Top of his class. Strong. Confident. Loved. As I watched him accept his diploma, I felt my mate's hands in mine, felt Hope and Phoenix cheering beside me, felt our family complete and whole. This is what we fought for, Adrian whispered. This, right here. Worth it. Sebastian agreed. Every painful moment. Worth it. Always, Matthias added. I looked at them. At the three alphas who'd broken me and rebuilt me, who'd failed me and redeemed themselves, who'd almost lost everything and refused to quit. Yes, I said. Always worth it. Because we'd survived. Not just survived. Flourished. Yes, they'd isolated me for the new Omega. Yes, they'd made terrible choices. Yes, they'd hurt me more deeply than I'd thought possible. But they'd also fought to make it right. Spent years proving they'd changed. Never gave up on us even when I'd given up on them. That's what love looks like. Not perfection. Not never making mistakes. But owning those mistakes. Learning from them. Doing better. Being better. And never ever giving up on the people who matter most. As we celebrated River's graduation, as our family laughed and loved and lived, I felt grateful. Grateful for the pain that taught us. Grateful for the healing that saved us. Grateful for second chances. Grateful for River. For Hope. For Phoenix. For the life we'd built from broken pieces. Grateful for my mates. For their persistence. For their growth. For their unwavering love. Grateful for myself. For my strength. For my courage to leave and my courage to return. Grateful for all of it. Every painful moment. Every tear. Every doubt. Because it gave us this. This family. This love. This life. And I wouldn't change a single thing. Thank you for being part of this entire journey. From isolation to family. From betrayal to redemption. From leaving to returning. From broken to whole to thriving. If this story moved you, truly moved you, don't just subscribe, share it. Let others know that second chances exist, that people can change, that love, real love, survives everything. Drop a comment about your own journey, your own forgiveness, your own second chances. I read every single one. And remember, you're stronger than your pain, braver than your fear, and worthy of love that chooses you every single day. Be brave enough to leave when you're undervalued. Be brave enough to return when real change happens. Be brave enough to trust again when trust is earned. That's the only story worth living. That's everything. That's love. 20 years after that day I walked out, I stood in the same house, the one we'd rebuilt our family in, the one where all our children had grown up. River was married now, to a beautiful Omega named Ash. They were expecting their first child, my first grandchild. Hope was at university, studying medicine, determined to be a healer, to help others the way I'd been helped. Phoenix was still home, 17, still our baby even though he'd probably hate being called that, and my mates, my three alphas. They were older now, gray in their hair, lines around their eyes, but still mine, still devoted, still choosing me every single day. We'd made it, all the way, through everything. That evening, River brought Ash over for dinner. We sat around the same table where so many important conversations had happened. "Papa," River said during dessert, "I have a question." I looked at him. At my son, my first baby, the one who'd saved me. "Ask." "When you were pregnant with me," he said, When you were alone. How did you do it? I glanced at my mates. They nodded, encouraging me to share. I survived because I had to, I said, because you needed me to, because giving up wasn't an option. Were you scared? Ash asked. He was a few months pregnant, still adjusting. I could see the fear in his eyes. Terrified, I admitted, every single day. But I'd do it again, because you were worth it, River. Worth every painful moment. River reached across the table, took my hand. I'm sorry you had to do it alone. I'm not, I said, because it taught me how strong I am, how much I can handle, how much I love you. But you shouldn't have had to, Sebastian said quietly. We should have been there. You're here now, I said. That's what matters. Ash looked at his mate, at River, then at us. Did you ever think you wouldn't make it back together? Yes, I admitted, many times. But they proved they'd changed, proved they were worth trusting again. How did you know? Ash asked. How did you know they'd really changed? I watched them, I said. With River, with me. I watched them choose us every single day, even when it was hard, even when I pushed them away. They stayed. They proved it through action, not just words. Adrian leaned forward, and we'll never stop proving it. Never take a single day for granted. Never, Sebastian agreed. Never, Matthias echoed. River squeezed my hand. You taught me what love looks like, he said. Real love, the kind that survives mistakes, the kind that grows stronger through pain. That's all I wanted, I said. For you to know real love, for you to never settle for less. As the evening continued, as my family laughed and talked and loved, I felt complete. This was it. This was what mattered. Not the pain of 20 years ago. Not the betrayal. Not the isolation. This family. This love. This life we'd fought for. Later, after everyone had left, after it was just us four again, my mates pulled me close. Thank you, Adrian said, for giving us another chance, for building this with us. Thank you for earning it, I said. Do you have any regrets? Sebastian asked. I thought about it, about everything we'd been through. Only one, I said. I wish I'd never had to leave. Wish we'd never had to go through that pain. But, Matthias prompted, but I'm glad we survived it, I said. Glad it made us stronger. Glad it taught us what really matters. And what's that? Adrian asked. Each other, I said. Choosing each other. Fighting for each other. Never taking each other for granted. Never, all three promised. As I fell asleep that night, surrounded by my mates, feeling the bond pulse with love and life and unbreakable connection, I thought about young Luca again. The one who'd stood at that door 20 years ago. The one who'd been so broken, so lost, so certain he'd never survive. I wish I could tell him, you not only survive, you thrive. You build something more beautiful than you'd ever imagined. You raise 3 amazing children. You forgive the unforgivable. You trust again when trust seemed impossible. You become stronger than you ever knew you could be. You find happiness deeper than you'd ever experienced. You create a family that's unshakable, and 20 years later, you'll stand in your home surrounded by love and think, it was all worth it. Every painful moment, every tear, every doubt, it was all worth it to get here, to this, to them, to us. You're going to be okay. Young Luca. More than okay. You're going to be extraordinary. Thank you for staying with me until the very end. For witnessing this journey from beginning to conclusion. From leaving to returning. From broken to healed to thriving. This is the reality of second chances. Not perfect, not without scars, but real, honest, worth fighting for. If you found yourself in this story, if you saw your own pain or your own healing or your own hope, let me know. Comment below. Share your journey. Let others know they're not alone. And remember, your story isn't over. Your pain doesn't define you. Your mistakes don't disqualify you from love. You're worthy of second chances, of redemption, of love that chooses you even after you've been hurt. Be brave enough to leave when necessary. Be brave enough to return when change is real. Be brave enough to build something beautiful from broken pieces. That's the only story worth telling. That's everything that matters. That's love.